There comes a moment in life when you realize you're done living small, done being defined by the limits that people placed on you, the mistakes you've made, or the doubts you've carried. There's a moment when the version of you that everyone thinks they know becomes a prison. And that's when it's time to break out. It's time to rise, to step into the kind of transformation so radical, so undeniable, that when people see you again, they don't even recognize you anymore. Understand this, the world loves to keep you in a box. Family, friends, coworkers, society. Everyone has an idea of who you are, what you're capable of, where you belong. They remember your failures, they replay your weaknesses, they cling to the old you like it's the only story that will ever be told. But you're not here to live in their version of reality. You're here to write a new story. A story so bold that the old labels don't fit anymore. The truth is, nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's handing you permission. Nobody's going to suddenly believe in you more than you believe in yourself. So what are you waiting for? The perfect moment? It doesn't exist. The right time? It's right now. You don't get a new life by waiting. You get it by standing up, deciding who you're going to be, and refusing to sit back down until that vision becomes real. You have to be willing to shed your skin. You have to be willing to outgrow your excuses, your comfort zones, your old habits. The things that felt safe, the routines that kept you average, the fears that held you hostage, you've got to burn them to the ground. Because transformation is not polite. It's not comfortable. It's not gradual. Transformation is violent. It's a complete tearing apart of who you were so you can step into who you were meant to be. Think about it. What if in 6 months you were unrecognizable? What if the person you are right now became a stranger to the new you? Imagine walking into a room and having people's jaws drop, not because of your clothes, not because of your status, but because of the fire in your eyes, the power in your presence, the undeniable energy that says, I am not who you remember. That's what happens when you stop negotiating with mediocrity. That's what happens when you stop settling for good enough. You elevate your standards, you say to yourself, this is who I am now. This is what I demand from life. This is the level I play at. And when you raise your standards, your identity shifts. And once your identity shifts, your destiny follows. But here's the truth, you will be tested. The old you will fight to stay alive. The voice in your head will whisper, who do you think you are? You can't do this. Stay the same. Stay safe. And you've got to shut that voice down with action. Not with words, not with wishes, but with relentless, consistent, unstoppable action. Every day you get up, you're faced with a choice. Stay the same, or step into the unknown and grow. Most people choose to stay the same because it's easy, but easy never creates power. Easy never creates greatness. Easy never builds the kind of life that makes people say, I can't believe that's you. So let me ask you, who do you want to be 6 months from now? A year from now? Do you want to still be explaining your excuses? Or do you want to be standing as living proof that a human being can transform beyond recognition? Get up. Refuse to be defined by the old story. Stop waiting for people to understand you. They don't need to. Stop waiting for permission. It's never coming. Decide that from this moment forward, you're becoming someone unrecognizable. Someone who rises so high that the old version of you feels like a ghost. This is your time. This is your chance. Don't waste it. People will always try to define you. From the moment you're born, labels start attaching themselves to you like chains. You're the quiet one, the weak one, the stubborn one, the one who always messes up, the one who can't go far, the one who isn't enough. And over time, those labels can begin to feel like truth. You start to wear them like skin, as if they are permanent marks of who you are. But here's the truth you need to burn into your mind. You are not the box people put you in. You are not the mistakes you've made. You are not the doubts people project onto you. You are limitless potential wrapped in human form, and the only thing standing between you and that version of yourself is the decision to break out of the prison of other people's opinions when people look at you. They don't see your future, they see your past. They remember the times you failed. They recall the words you said when you were afraid. They replay your moments of weakness because it makes them comfortable to believe you are the same as you've always been. Why? Because if you can change, if you can rise, if you can evolve into something extraordinary, then it means they no longer have an excuse for staying the same. It means their comfort zone is threatened. It means their story about what's possible starts to fall apart. That's why so many people will resist your growth. That's why they'll laugh, criticize, and doubt you. Not because you're not capable, but because your potential scares them. Because your growth is a mirror that reflects their stagnation. Breaking out of the box isn't about proving them wrong, though. It's about proving yourself right. It's about deciding that your identity will no longer be held hostage by memories, by judgments, by the fear of not fitting in. You weren't born to fit in. You weren't born to stay small so others could stay comfortable. You were born to expand, to push boundaries, to show what happens when a human being refuses to settle. And the first step is tearing off those labels that have clung to you for years. The moment you stop letting people's definitions define your decisions, you free yourself from their cage. And when that happens, your energy shifts. You start to carry yourself differently. You walk into rooms with power, even if you haven't yet built the life you dream of, because you've already built the identity that will create it. The box others put you in is a reflection of their perspective, not your potential. They might see a failure, but inside you is resilience. They might see an ordinary person, but inside you is greatness. They might see limitations, but inside you is the ability to rewrite the story. Every person who has ever achieved something that seemed impossible was once seen as someone who didn't belong there. The athlete who was too slow, the student who was too average, the entrepreneur who was too broke, the leader who was too inexperienced. They all started inside a box, and the only reason they rose was because they refused to accept it as their home. So when the world says, "You can't," you break out. When people remind you of who you used to be, you break out. When fear whispers that you're not enough, you break out. Every time you choose to act in alignment with the future version of yourself instead of the story others tell about you, you crack the walls of that box. Every time you push past the limit you once thought was fixed, you tear it apart. Every time you prove to yourself that you can do more than yesterday, the walls fall. Until one day you look back and there is no box anymore, just open space, just possibility, just a life that nobody but you could have built. That's what breaking out of the box really means. It's not about running away from who you were. It's about stepping fully into who you were meant to become. No matter who's watching, no matter who doubts you, no matter how uncomfortable it makes others feel. Because once you decide that nobody's definition of you is stronger than your decision about you, the box shatters forever. Transformation demands sacrifice. It is not a gentle process. It is not a polite process. It is not something that happens while you sit comfortably waiting for life to change. If you want to rise, if you want to step into the next version of yourself, you must be willing to destroy the identity that has kept you where you are. The truth most people run from is this: you cannot carry your excuses, your fears, your limiting habits, and your old story into your future. They don't belong there. They don't fit there. If you try to hold on to them, you will never grow into the person you are meant to be. That means you must be willing to burn the old identity to the ground, to let go of everything that has defined you up until now, and to embrace the unknown of becoming someone entirely new. Think about it. Every time you cling to your excuses, you are protecting the very chains that hold you back. Excuses feel safe. They give you a reason not to try, not to risk, not to expose yourself to failure. But those excuses are poison. They rob you of your power. They eat away at your confidence. They keep you trapped in a loop where tomorrow looks exactly like yesterday. The same is true of fear. Fear is not a wall outside you. It's a voice inside you. It whispers, "Stay small, stay safe, don't change, don't take the risk." And the more you listen, the more your identity shrinks until you're nothing more than the reflection of that fear. To break free, you have to confront it. You have to face it head on and you have to act in spite of it. Fear only loses its grip when you prove through action that it cannot control you. Habits are another cage. The small, invisible patterns you repeat daily build your identity. If you wake up late, scroll your phone, complain about your life, avoid hard work, and numb yourself with distractions, that becomes who you are. Not because you want it, but because habits are identity in motion. To change your identity, you must burn those old habits. You replace them with rituals that match the person you are becoming. The discipline to rise early, the consistency to train your body, the commitment to sharpen your mind, the focus to pour energy into your dreams instead of wasting it on things that do not matter. Every new habit you build is a brick in the foundation of the new identity, and every old habit you destroy is a piece of the past you refuse to carry forward. Burning your old identity means you must be willing to let go of the version of you that everyone else knows. The people around you might resist. They might say you've changed, as if it's an insult. They might try to pull you back into the role you've always played, the predictable version of you that kept them comfortable. But you cannot allow their comfort to cost you your destiny. When you choose transformation, you are choosing to become unrecognizable to those who cling to the past. You are choosing growth over approval. You are choosing progress over acceptance, and in that choice you set yourself free. It's not enough to want change. You must demand it of yourself. You must hold the fire of transformation so close that it burns away anything that doesn't belong. Old excuses, old fears, old habits, old versions of yourself. They all must die for the new you to be born. This is not destruction for the sake of pain. It is destruction for the sake of creation. Like a forest that burns only to give way to richer soil, you burn the old identity so the new one can thrive. This is the law of growth. The person you are now cannot take you to the next level. The only way forward is to release them, to honor who you were, but refuse to stay there. Because if you do not burn the old identity, it will bury your potential. If you do not release who you were, you will never step into who you are destined to be. Growth begins the moment you raise your standards. Everything in your life right now is a reflection of what you've been willing to settle for. The quality of your relationships, the strength of your body, the size of your dreams, the results you see every single day. They are all tied directly to the standards you've accepted as normal. If you tolerate excuses, you'll live with excuses. If you tolerate average effort, you'll live with average results. If you tolerate living small, you'll live a small life. But the second you say no more, the second you raise the bar on what you demand of yourself, everything starts to shift. The world doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you demand. And when your standards rise, your life has no choice but to rise with them. The mistake most people make is thinking that their standards are fixed, like some permanent measure of who they are. But standards are a decision. Standards are chosen, and too many people choose them unconsciously, shaped by the environment they grew up in, the people around them, and the story they've told themselves about what's possible. You were told to be realistic, so you settled. You were told to play safe, so you compromised. You were told to be grateful for what you have, so you stopped reaching. But raising your standards doesn't mean you're ungrateful. It means you refuse to let gratitude become a cage. It means you can be thankful for what you have while demanding more of yourself, more of your effort, more of your potential. Gratitude without standards leads to stagnation, but gratitude with higher standards leads to growth. Raising your standards is not about comparing yourself to others. It's not about being better than the person next to you. It's about being better than the person you were yesterday. It's about deciding that the old version of you is no longer acceptable. The way you think, the way you act, the way you carry yourself, those are not random choices. They are reflections of your standards. If you've been cutting corners, if you've been talking about dreams without backing them up with action, if you've been waiting for someone else to push you, then your standards are too low. Because the person who truly elevates doesn't wait for motivation, they create it. They don't wait for opportunity, they prepare for it. They don't wait for permission, they give themselves the permission to rise. When you raise your standards, your identity begins to shift. You no longer see yourself as someone who tries, you see yourself as someone who commits. You no longer see yourself as someone who hopes, you see yourself as someone who executes. That identity shift is the most powerful force in human behavior, because once you decide this is who I am, your actions fall in line with that decision. If you say, I am disciplined, you act with discipline. If you say, I am unstoppable, you act with persistence. If you say, I am capable of greatness, you chase it with everything you've got, and the higher your standards, the stronger your identity becomes. The stronger your identity becomes, the more your destiny changes. It all starts with the level you set for yourself. People often ask why they aren't achieving their goals. They think it's a lack of resources, a lack of opportunity, a lack of support. But the real reason is almost always a lack of standards. If you're willing to live without the goal, you won't achieve it. If you're willing to quit when it gets hard, you won't achieve it. If you're willing to keep telling yourself someday, you won't achieve it. Goals don't get met because you wish for them. They get met because you make it unacceptable not to. You tie your identity to the outcome, and you raise your standards so high that failure is not an option. You might stumble, you might adjust, you might struggle, but you will not quit, because quitting is no longer part of your standard. When you decide to raise your standards, life will test you. It will present obstacles, setbacks, and challenges to see if you're serious. Most people crumble under that test because they were never fully committed. They only wished for change. But the few who truly decide, the few who refuse to lower the bar back down, are the ones who break through. That breakthrough is waiting for you. The moment you stop accepting average effort, the moment you stop tolerating your own excuses, the moment you stop living at the level of everyone else and demand more of yourself, you step into the rare space where transformation happens. Because growth doesn't come from what's easy, it comes from raising your standards so high that the old you can't reach them anymore, and the new you is forced to rise and claim them. The voice of doubt will always be there. It's that whisper in the back of your mind telling you you're not ready, you're not capable, you're not enough. It shows up when you try something new, when you step outside the comfort zone, when you attempt to rise higher than you ever have before. It will remind you of every failure you've ever had, every time you fell short, every person who told you that you couldn't do it. And if you're not careful, that voice becomes louder than your vision. That voice can paralyze you. It can convince you to shrink back into the familiar. It can trap you in cycles where you dream big but act small. The only way to silence that voice is through action, relentless action, bold action, the kind of action that leaves no space for doubt to breathe. You cannot think your way out of doubt. You cannot argue your way out of it. You cannot wait for it to disappear. Doubt feeds on hesitation. The longer you wait, the stronger it grows. The more you debate with it, the more power it gains. But when you act, when you move forward in spite of fear, when you take one step, then another, and then another, doubt loses its grip. Action is the antidote to fear. Action is the weapon against doubt. Action is the path to building certainty. You don't need confidence before you act. You gain confidence by acting. Every time you push forward, every time you do the thing you were afraid of, every time you refuse to back down, you collect evidence that you are stronger than the voice inside your head. Consistency is where the transformation happens. Anyone can take one bold step. Anyone can have one brave moment. But the people who change their lives are the ones who turn action into a habit. They wake up every day and move toward their vision even when they don't feel like it. They push through the days when motivation is gone, when energy is low, when obstacles seem too heavy. That is where character is built. That is where the old identity starts to crack and the new one begins to form. Consistent action rewires your mind, it builds new patterns, it reshapes who you believe yourself to be. Suddenly, you're not someone who tries, you're someone who follows through. You're not someone who waits, you're someone who moves. You're not someone who hesitates, you're someone who executes. Boldness is another part of this equation. Life doesn't reward hesitation, it rewards courage. Bold action is about making moves that scare you, that stretch you, that force you to grow into someone you've never been before. It's about saying yes before you're ready. It's about stepping into arenas where you don't feel qualified yet. It's about daring to fail publicly so you can rise privately. Playing it safe never created a legacy. Hiding in comfort never created transformation. Boldness separates the few who change from the many who stay the same. Every time you choose boldness, you break a piece of the chain that's been holding you back. Unstoppable action is the ultimate goal. Not occasional, not conditional, but unstoppable. That means no matter how many times you stumble, you keep moving. No matter how many times you get knocked down, you get back up. No matter how many obstacles you face, you find another way. The world respects persistence. Life bends for those who refuse to quit. The universe has a way of rewarding those who act without giving up, because persistence eventually breaks resistance. It may not happen in a day, in a week, or even in a year, but if you refuse to stop, if you refuse to surrender, if you refuse to let doubt win, you will eventually break through. And here's the secret most people never understand. Doubt never completely disappears. The higher you go, the louder it can get, because the stakes are bigger and the goals are greater. But the difference between those who succeed and those who don't is not that one has doubt and the other doesn't. It's that one keeps acting in spite of it. They understand that doubt is just noise and action is the truth. The truth is in what you do, not in what you think. The truth is in the steps you take, not the excuses you tell yourself. And every time you choose action over hesitation, boldness over safety, persistence over quitting, you build a life that no doubt can destroy. Imagine becoming someone so transformed that when people see you again, they can't even recognize you. Not because of a new haircut, not because of new clothes, not because of some superficial change, but because the energy radiating from you is so powerful, so undeniable, that the old you has vanished. That is the level of transformation you are called to. Becoming unrecognizable is about more than just growth. It's about stepping into a completely new identity, one that demands respect, one that inspires others, one that makes people stop and say, "What happened to you?" And the answer will be simple. You decided to stop living as the person everyone thought you were, and you chose to become who you were meant to be. People often cling to the old version of you because it's comfortable for them. They remember the times you failed, the times you stayed small, the times you settled. They've created a story in their minds of who you are, and they expect you to keep playing that role forever. But you are not obligated to remain the character in their script. You are the author of your own story, and when you take control of that pen, you can write a new chapter so powerful that the past becomes irrelevant. Becoming unrecognizable means you refuse to live inside anyone else's narrative. It means you no longer seek validation for who you are becoming, because the approval of others is too small a prize compared to the greatness you are chasing. This kind of transformation starts on the inside. It begins with your beliefs. If you keep believing the same old story about yourself, you'll keep living the same old life. But when you shift your belief system, when you start saying, "I am capable, I am powerful, I am relentless," everything begins to change. Those beliefs fuel new actions. Those actions create new results, and those results build a new identity. Over time, the gap between who you used to be and who you've become grows so wide that even you look back and wonder how you ever lived as that old version. That is the power of deciding to become unrecognizable, but it doesn't stop at belief. Belief must be backed by action. Every day you have the chance to prove to yourself who you are becoming. Every choice you make is a vote for the future version of you or for the past version of you. When you choose discipline over laziness, you're casting a vote for the new you. When you choose courage over fear, you're casting a vote for the new you. When you choose persistence over quitting, you're casting a vote for the new you. Over time, those votes add up, and the old identity has no power left because you've outgrown it through repeated, undeniable action. Becoming unrecognizable also means embracing discomfort. Growth does not happen where you feel safe. It happens in the unknown, in the moments when you're terrified, in the spaces where you feel like you don't belong yet. Those are the very signs that you are on the right path. If it feels too easy, you're not changing. If it feels too familiar, you're not evolving. The process of transformation will demand that you step into situations that stretch you, that expose you, that make you question yourself. But that is the fire that forges strength. That is the pressure that creates the diamond. Without discomfort, you stay the same. With it, you become someone new, and when that transformation happens, people will notice. They will see the shift in your posture, the confidence in your voice, the determination in your eyes. They will feel the energy you carry into the room. Some will celebrate you, others will resent you, many won't understand you. But all of them will have to acknowledge that you are no longer the same person. And that's the point. You don't live to be understood by everyone. You live to become the fullest version of yourself, no matter who recognizes you or not. Becoming unrecognizable is not about leaving others behind. It's about refusing to leave yourself behind. It's about stepping so fully into your potential that the old you is nothing but a memory, and the new you is a force nobody can ignore.